Ho, ho. You look like a girl with that hair. Hello, friends, on this lovely Saturday, November 25th, 2017. It's about 3:13, probably 3:14 p.m. There's nothing quite like trying to find a little bit of quiet to record somewhere, right? You find one spot, I see some weird shit. You find another spot, and they must, I don't know if they're high school or college kids, just fucking making a racket, you know? So it's like, it's too much of a distraction that I can't focus. Speaking of which, it is apparently a lot louder here than I was expecting, so we'll just close the left window a little bit. Well, I don't know how much you can tell by the sound of my voice, but I was one of those lucky people who got to be sick for Thanksgiving. Seemed like some of you out there had that wonderful little experience too. Thankfully, it wasn't that bad. It's not one of those where it sort of manifests with like a sore throat or a really runny nose. So it's mostly just, I don't know, you have a headache and your head feels warm and your body just sort of aches and you don't have energy. But thankfully everything else isn't bothering you too. So I'm always grateful for that, because I've got some, I feel like, man, some of the holiday seasons, I feel like I have some really bad memories of just having a really bad sore throat that just seems to last for like the whole month. So yesterday was the worst of it. I woke up on Thanksgiving in the morning. It's like, oh, something feels wrong, doesn't it? It's not your standard just sort of grogginess, whatever. It's just something in your throat, a little bit in your nose. Not a lot, but enough to feel that something is wrong. And yesterday was the worst of it. I thought, well, if it's not so bad, I'll still go work out and whatever. But yeah, I remember getting up and like, oh, I'll make some coffee, and I could barely drink the coffee at all, which was, for me, an indication that, yep, you are definitely sick. When I can't drink coffee, it's just something about it. I mean, maybe because it dehydrates you and all that, since it's a diuretic. My body just can't tolerate it. But when I start to feel fine, coffee tastes great. And yeah, barely any energy. Yesterday was just completely laying in bed. Today it finally feels a bit better, and I was able to kind of slowly sip away at a cup of coffee, and I'm drinking a bunch of water to stay hydrated, and just went outside, if anything, for just some sunlight. Yeah, it's that thing where it feels like you've been in bed for several days. It's just an awful, awful feeling that you just want to go outside and see the sunlight, get some fresh air. So, as unpleasant as it was, I guess, I'm thankful that it's not as bad as it could be. So it is, I believe, day 71 of NOFAP, day 63 or 4 of a low-carb, no-alcohol diet. Although, what I'm about to tell you, whatever you want to make it out to be, do I remove one of the days because of it? So I decided to tactically cheat, folks. And before you say, oh, you cheated, well, don't worry. The next day, I went right back to my diet and all of that. I decided to cheat. And why? What do you mean cheat? I decided to just have whatever food my parents were making for Thanksgiving and to have some alcohol. Now, once again, oh, well, you're just going to use that as an excuse to whatever. No, I'll tell you why if you just hear it out. I basically wanted to see, folks, after over 2 months of being on a diet, not drinking alcohol, I'd like to think that I developed enough self-control where it wouldn't, it's not like, oh, you have a taste of wine or something, oh, you're just going to immediately go back to drinking a gallon of it and stuff like that. And I wanted to see what it would be like. Did I still have a taste for things? Did it still have control over me the way that it used to? And I'm glad I did. I'm really glad I decided to do this, because it no longer does. It no longer does. And if you've been following this channel for any amount of time, especially from the old version, from back when I used to have Forever Alone Feels channel, it was an early video I remember making, and I've talked about this numerous times, that I have a very strong connection to food and alcohol. It's a big coping mechanism for me. It's this sort of emotional attachment to it that has bothered me for a very, very long time. So I figure, all right, it's been over 2 months. I feel like I have enough self-control that, I'm not just going to have one taste of bread or something and suddenly, everything just goes out the window. And, one day, this one day, are you really going to mess anything up, especially if you can just kind of go back to normal the next day after? So, how was it? You've been quote-unquote depriving yourself for 2 months, right? How was it? Was it, oh man, so what exactly did we have? We don't do turkey for Thanksgiving. Me and my dad had steak. My mom had chicken. They made sort of this salad with beets and stuff. And these like boiled potatoes with like butter and sort of this herb seasoning on them. I had like a piece of bread too and some wine. So, depriving yourself, quote unquote, depriving yourself for 2 months. You probably bit into that bread and the potatoes and stuff like that, and you must have just felt absolute ecstasy, right? It was probably, oh man, you've finally been holding back and you finally get a taste of carbs. It must have been like the most incredible thing ever, right? And when you drank that wine and started to feel tipsy, whatever, it was once again probably the most incredible feeling again, right? Not at all. And like I said, this is why I'm glad I did it. It was very underwhelming. I could barely finish my glass of wine. I just sort of chugged it at the end. And, the feeling of being drunk wasn't even that great. Not what it used to be. It was very just like, oh, this sort of sucks. And the food, while it was good, there was no longer that just sort of weird attachment, weird emotional attachment. Oh man, this tastes so good. Oh, I'm getting that like serotonin carb high from it. That overall it was extremely underwhelming. Like, was this really what I was into? Was this really what I was into? Is this really what I sort of hungered and whatever after? Like, this is very, like, it's good, but like, who cares? So that was that. So I definitely now know that this is the path with it, folks. This is the path. And I think I can finally say, after quite a long time, that sort of this, this weird emotional attachment that I had to food. Oh, and speaking of alcohol, looks like somebody's going to the trash and throwing a lot out of it. Ironically enough, I think those were Mike's hard lemonade bottles. If you remember this channel from last year, started drinking a bunch of that, gained a lot of weight. How ironic. I know that it probably doesn't sound very I can't really describe how sort of big of a thing this is for me. I know sort of sitting here talking about it sounds very like, oh, whatever. Like, yeah. It's hard for me to describe how big of a thing that is, where like these things that have bothered me for so long, and especially for the food, much longer than the alcohol, that it no longer has that control over me like it used to. Where it really is this like, is this really, did this really control me? Was I really so into... So, it was bad to cheat, folks, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did it because now I know that it no longer controls me. Now, of course, that's not to say that you need to let your guard down, because, if you were able to free yourself from something, doesn't mean that you can't sort of enslave yourself either again. But I now know, this really wasn't that great. I am totally okay with my steak, eggs, a little bit of vegetables, and I've just sort of gotten a taste for it that I don't really care for anything else. Well, unless it's, meat, of course. But, oh, man. And you sort of have these things earlier on of like, oh, what if oh, God, wouldn't it be great to get Taco Bell or something. But I think I can safely now say that has probably passed. It is no longer, it doesn't taste as good as it used to. And I finally, I think, freed myself from that sort of emotional bondage that I had to it. So, that's good, folks. Some sort of progress, right? Some sort of progress. I've got to try to make, of course, when you're sick and also on low carb, you don't really have the option of like buying chicken noodle soup, right? So I want to make my own sort of egg drop soup. So my dad got some of these organic chicken stock little cases. So I want to just sort of boil it, throw some whole eggs in there that are beaten, make some sort of egg drop soup. I just won't be using any cornstarch, and sort of get some soup in there, plus these sort of big pinwheel steaks with a little bit of cheese and spinach, which, that's totally fine. So, like I said, I have enough self-control at this point where I can go right back to dieting. Or at this point, is it really a diet anymore, or is it just sort of your way of eating? Because I've got to be honest, I don't really... I even told my parents this, where I was like, wow, food was really good and all that, but I have definitely lost my sort of taste for a lot of this stuff that I used to have. What else? What else is there? Like I said, I hope I feel okay enough to start working out again on Monday. Especially if you get really sick, you're not really gonna go do anything, and that really can put you backwards in terms of your exercise and stuff like that. So there's something else that I'm trying to remember. I think that one other thing I'm gonna have to work on is this whole video games thing. It's not even an addiction to video games. It's just I don't even play that many anymore. It's just still this thing that you think about, this thing that, you sit there and you watch videos of somebody else playing them, blah, blah, blah. And I know what it is, and I've talked about this before. I know what it is. It's whatever the soul wants inside, you're basically giving it sort of a hollow shadow form. Instead of going on actual adventures, actual quests. I know it sounds very dumb. Instead of improving yourself in real life, although at this point you could say I'm somewhat doing that. You're doing it in a false, hollow sense where it just sort of, the hollow replaces the real. And so you watch this. I mean, I'm sure everybody has these moments where you play a game and you're just like, oh, this person's leveling up and improving these skills while you sit there for hours just getting fat, right, with shitty posture. Where sort of the absurdity of it really strikes you of, I'm saving the world here and blah blah and getting better at this and that and improving my crafting and making this, while in the real world I'm doing jack shit. Oh man. But if I can get over some things, I know that I can get over other things. But it'll be tough. I think it definitely depends on your personality too, or if you're very daydreamy like I am. It's very, since you don't really have real accomplishments in your life, all you sort of go back to, you have these vague visions of shit that you remember you did in video games. And none of it was real. All of it was complete bullshit. And isn't that the case, folks, with a lot of things, where it sort of is the choice between the real and the hollow? You want the real, but it comes with work, with time, with pain, whatever. The hollow, not so much, but much less meaningful. But it's scary too. It's scary too. Because as much as you want change and all that stuff, you're sort of scared to give it up too, because it's a known, right? What is transformation? Real, true transformation, folks. It's basically death. All of these sort of things that make up the old you having to go away and die, it's scary. And I don't think there's necessarily always a chance of success, that you'll jump into the abyss and end up somewhere where you want, right? You know, somebody left a comment saying, this is all good and all, but you don't talk about the programming. How's the programming going? Well, it's not really going at all, to be honest with you. And like I said, it really does mostly just come down to fear. It truly does, folks. It comes down to fucking fear. Fear of truly changing, truly transforming, and having to give up things that are comfortable but no longer suit you. You know, if you give up what you know, even if you sort of hate it at this point, then who are you? Who are you even anymore? I mean, in theory, you hope it all goes towards something better, right? Like I said, basically the old you will have to die. And that's not a very comfortable thought, is it? As ironic as it is, as you might hate yourself. You know, what is it, folks? What is it when nothing seems to provide you the same? Oh, and there's somebody with a big box of wine or something like that. Oh, I gotta say, this whole constant getting drunk and drinking and blah blah blah, it really is no longer interesting at all. But what is it, folks? When all the things that brought you some comfort, happiness, blah blah, no longer work. You know, what is it? Seemingly the little trivial things no longer do anything. You know, is it a sign from life that maybe it's time to give them up or find meaning somewhere else? And I suppose you could either find other hollow things to try to take their place, but you kind of know how that's going to end up eventually when you don't replace it with something real. Oh. What the fuck was that? When you can't even seemingly enjoy some time off from work, when it no longer gave you the same happiness that it used to before, folks. Oh, sweet, I've got a 4 or 5 day weekend or whatever. I'm taking time off or this or that. And you get it, and it's just sort of just feels like nothing. Here I am trying to be in deep thought, blah blah, and there's somebody just yelling randomly. And so how long can you hold on to those, right? You know, how long can you keep holding on to all the things that just don't do anything for you anymore? If it has no meaning anymore, why do you keep holding on to it? If it doesn't make you feel the way that it used to and all that, why do you still keep making a big deal out of it? And yes, indeed, folks, can you face that sort of death that has to happen for you to begin to actually transform? Alright, we'll probably leave it there. Have a good one.